Do you ever get a song stuck in your head and you think, man, I should do my own version of this? It's going to be in my head forever, so why don't I put my own spin on it and then I can make money at it, right? Wouldn't that be neat, huh? Well, the problem is that Sony has now decided that rather than a song, they've got a style of gaming stuck in their head and they're hell-bent on conquering that and making it theirs. Apparently, the future of the PlayStation brand rests in live service games. This apparently is going to be their play to fight Nintendo. Is that PlayStation is going to be the console that you can play your live service games on? The competitive kind, not the collaborative kind. The difference being like Among Us and Lethal Company. Those games are more collaborative and they use human intuition to make most of the gameplay, if you will. And then on the other end, you have the hero shooter, which is like Fortnite, Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, these sort of things that are, I think League of Legends falls in. No, that's not. That's a strategy game. But it's sort of, it falls into this kind of competitive nature. Sure, you're competing against your friends in Lethal Company, sort of, and Among Us, certainly. But, well, certain roles. But the situation that you find yourself in when you're playing these live service games that PlayStation wants to pump out is that they're competitive. They're gotcha-esque in that they have a set amount of characters, and perhaps you have to pay to unlock those with a battle pass or certain skins to unlock. You have to pay for or earn certain tokens to be able to have access to. Whereas Among Us and Lethal Company just appear to be adding these things, new maps and costumes and features, things you can add to your little model as you run around, your little avatars you run around inside the game. Um, you know, these are less cycle based, less season based, and they're more just, oh hey, we had an idea, or the suggestion box overflowed with the Charizard skin request. So now in Among Us, you can run around as a Charizard. Because why not? You're already murderous jelly beans in space. Let's just throw Pokemon in on top of it. Why not? I don't know how they got permission for that, but who knows? But this is where they find themselves today over at Sony. So let's get into it, okay? PlayStation isn't giving up on the live service game anytime soon. In a recent interview with a Japanese outlet Famitsu, PlayStation co CEO Herman Hulst said that the company still believes in the model despite recent hiccups with, like, Concord. You remember Concord? $400 million down the chute and 8 years totally lost. A studio that put that together, fresh from Improbability Monsters. That I think that's what it was, and that was a company that was born out of Bungie. Those group of guys got out of Bungie. There, they for whatever reason they left Bungie. They jumped into making Probability Monsters, and then Firewalk was born out of that. When those guys got bored of whatever Probability Monsters was doing, and they put together Firewalk, and then Sony was like, "Gotta have that," and they put $400 million into a game that lasted less than 2 weeks. But we're not done talking about Concord. We'll get into them a little bit later here because the story's still not over. This is what Herman had to say about this. He says, the game business is constantly changing due to various factors, including technological advances, new genres, and ways of playing. However, one thing that remains consistent is people's desire for great entertainment experiences. I mean, I can't lie. I own Horizon Zero Dawn for the cutscenes. I'm not for the gameplay. I find the gameplay kind of boring. But I do really enjoy the movie of Horizon Zero Dawn. So I can't lie that I don't enjoy great entertainment experiences because, in my opinion, that was one of them, and he made it. All right, I'm not gonna deny that he had his hand in it. I think majority his hand in it. So I can't deny that he does know what works. He just refuses to do it. Anyway, here he goes. He says, and attention to games continues to grow. However, again, this has also created competition. Like many companies in the industry, we have had to make changes to our business to solidify a more sustainable operating base. Like, burning $400 million on a studio that you ended up having to bust up and fire everybody from. Yeah. Yeah, sustainable. You bet, buddy. You bet. See, when he says sustainable, he's talking about like disposable things and stuff that doesn't hurt the environment. When I say sustainable is, are people going to care about this in 10 years? I don't think you should be spending 10 years of your life developing a game that will last less than a year in the public zeitgeist. And I know that's really difficult right now, especially with a single player game. Absolutely. That is nigh impossible if the thing can't be memed to death. You know what I mean? You get two options. You'd be so terrible like Concord that everybody's going to laugh at you and make a bunch of memes to spread your name around, or you make a game like the Batman Arkham games that people constantly meme because it has strange animations and fight scenes. There's one out right now with a guy in a wheelchair is in that prison scene where Batman shows up and just beats the heck out of those prisoners. Yeah, it's a guy in a wheelchair doing it, and it's hilarious because it's he's not animated to be moving like that. It's just the wheelchair like leaping around with the guy in it, like froze in it, beating the hell out of people. And again, that's possible because of the game having such an extreme presentation of Batman. Okay, I say extreme because I like 1966 Batman. I'm not into murder bat. That's just me. I understand it's not a popular opinion, but I like Batman that like parked his car out in front of Commissioner Gordon's office at Gotham PD, didn't even lock the doors on the damn thing, and then walked through the front door to take a phone call in Commissioner Gordon's office. That's the Batman that I like. The Batman that defeats the Joker in a surf competition and arrests him after collecting his trophy. That's the that's the Bat. I'm sorry. I just like that. I think that's fun. I'm sorry. I appreciate this kind of characterization of such a dramatic and pained man that he's still able to go out and have a bit of mercy on the world, And the Arkham series presents Batman as being just kind of not so human anymore, and that's a bit of the narrative that Bruce is losing his humanity in his crusade for justice. But again, it's one of those A, B, C, D, F plots, way deep down inside of the narrative of the game. And I don't know if I want to have that debate about a guy who wears a bat costume to beat the hell out of superstitious criminals. I don't know. I would expect him to be a bit more satisfied with himself, considering the good that he has done. But that has nothing to do with this because they're done making Batman games that rock. We saw that with Suicide Squad. They killed him like a dog right there at the beginning. So that was over with. He wasn't even a big bad. They just put him down on his knees. This was one of Kevin Conroy's last performances, by the way. Comment below if you've made it this far in the video and you have opinions about that, because I'm still beside myself. They went through all that, and that game did that even make it a year? No. No, it premiered like back in the beginning. Yeah. It didn't even make it a year, and it's done. They're gonna drop it here in June. All over with. Amazing. So he goes on. Hulst, he's continued to play. Hulst continued to say PlayStation will continue to focus on developing live service titles along with story-driven single-player titles that our players want. Now, you and I both know they're not doing that. Okay, the players want games like Stellar Blade. They want games that are engaging. The experience of escapism, like we saw in the 40K game, right there, the Warhammer 40K game. Really, really, I didn't hear anybody complaining too much about that. It had some cutscenes in it that were a little herky jerky, couple animations that were a little herky jerky, but by and large, the game did not try to lecture to you about anything other than how cool its universe is. Okay. I'm not a 40K guy. Don't get me wrong. All right. I don't know a lot about that space, but I know from watching the fans who have reacted to it that they really enjoyed this stuff. And so I'm glad for it. I hope they continue to make more of that with Saber Studio. I think that's who did it. Saber. Yeah, I think Saber Studio is the one behind that. So I can hope they continue working with them. But the reality of what Sony's trying to do is they're trying to copy Call of Duty, Fortnite, and Overwatch, probably Marvel Rivals now, just kind of slam it all together into one like blobby thing into a live service blob, right? All right. Now, I brought Foamstars up a little earlier. Now, Foamstars was another one they were very proud of. Square Enix trotted out, and they were like, look at us, we've got our own Splatoon, and it doesn't involve weird little squid kids. It's got AI-generated designs of rave girls. Yeah. You can't tell me that somebody sat down and designed that character. No. That was like 5 minutes in the Overwatch art style AI generator character designer. Anyway, Foamstars is over with, as you can see from that headline. They're dropping it. So that's a live service game that Sony was all hot and horny to roll out because they were going to crush Splatoon with it. That was going to take over the Splatoon market, whatever the splatter paint market qualifies for today, I guess. But that's what you're dealing with is now Foamstars is gone. Now, again, we did have Hulst come out and admit that Concord, as I said earlier, had some problems, that they didn't user test it enough and there wasn't enough internal evaluation. But we've heard over and over again from the staff there that they weren't allowed to criticize things, that people had to be relentlessly positive. And this is how we ended up with characters like Muncha Luncha and Unwed Asian Auntie and Walking Septic Tank that largely don't have an aesthetic design that fits anything. You have melted Bionicle there. It just looks like a melted Bionicle. Somebody left that on the furnace at wintertime. Something smells funny, kids. And then by summer, they found this thing splayed out on the exhaust fan in the back of the furnace. See, that's the thing is that like there was no conscious decision making with Concord. There was just satisfying what these different sectors that needed representation were expected to look like on a checklist. And that's why Concord fell off, because it was more about engaging the politics of today than it was about creating a gaming experience. And that's why it had no soul to it. That's why all the characters looked silly. We've got a song right here on the channel, 2 songs about maybe 3 about Concord, right? We've got Blame Game, we've got Concord Spirit, and Symphony of the Dumb. And that's right over on the Bounding Radio playlist. Feel free to slide on over there. We make music for we like make little meme music videos for the beginning of our videos sometimes, and it's kind of fun. So I put the whole song, the whole length song. It is AI generated. Don't get me wrong. Nobody around here's got the talent to be a musician and do the news at the same time. I'm sure they could do it separate, but there's two roads here, and they tend not to intersect. So we just use the AI to boot up something fun and catchy, and we throw it in a video there. And we've done a few about Concord that are kind of fun. I'm not expecting anybody to love them. They're AI, but they do have a nice groove to them. Check them out. But back to this right here. So the situation that they found themselves in was that the beta testing didn't go well, and they just decided, oh, well, this is going to be the next Star Wars, guys. That's literally what they were telling themselves, by the way. This is going to be the next Star Wars. Everybody and their brother, they put out an animatic. They bought their episode inside of that Amazon Level Up or Level 1, Next Level, whatever it is. Secret Level. There it is. Secret Level over there on Amazon. They bought their episode there, then had to retract it because the game doesn't exist anymore. Oops. They were hell-bent on ready to make this thing. They were going to go for a full cinematic universe to support this. This is going to have a cartoon series to support it. All that jazz. They were probably working on manga, trying to get the Japanese involved in this. So don't think for a minute that Concord was some, oh yeah, we weren't really paying attention to that. We just threw $400 million at it. That's all. We just forgot about it. This was Sony's next big thing. They were going to push this as hard as Xbox pushed Master Chief when Halo series became the definitive IP of the Xbox and the 360. So that's how hard they were going to push this. And so Concord being a failure is not something you can just sit back and be like, well, maybe we don't have enough interest in our live service games. Rather than evaluating what was missing from Concord, they're thinking they don't have enough interest in the product, okay? This is why a lot of people thought that Concord was going to come back. This is why a lot of people sat down and they were like, wow, we're seeing code changes inside of the Steam listing and we're all this different stuff. Well, it could have been guys just going in there and screwing around with it. They don't, doesn't mean that Sony needs to revoke all their passwords. Maybe they were going in there and saying goodbye. So they modified the code to have the characters, I don't know, wave. So they went in there, the staff went in there, and all the characters were waving goodbye. I don't know. But it wasn't the return of the game because this was over with. Sony put $400 million in this. It made less than 2 weeks worth of content, and then they closed it off for good. They even refunded people on their physical copies of the game. All right? That's how misguided this was. But Sony's like, no. We'll throw another $400 million at something, and that'll work this time. Surely that's the problem. We just didn't have enough interest last time. We weren't user testing enough. We weren't internally evaluating often enough. That was the problem. No, You and I both know the reality is that from its core, that game started out as a competitor, not a passion. Okay. People involved with this were told that they were going to make a competitor to Overwatch. Okay. And boom, it completely fell apart as soon as it got involved, as soon as people started getting like really deep in the process of making this because there was no passion there. You cannot begin a project with, we're going to take that guy's milkshake. We're going to drink that guy's milkshake. You can't start your project like that. There's no heart to Concord. Let's go through all these other failed games. Right here, the gamer was kind enough earlier this year to put together live service games that shut down quickly. And you'll note something similar to all of these games. There's like a pattern through all of them. And let's see if you can figure out what it is. I'm not calling you out for missing the point, but let's just see if you can notice too what I've noticed. Comment below if you notice the pattern like I do. So here we have it, 13, Concord. Obviously gonna lead the pack on the wow, that totally blew me away kind of listing here from the gamer, all right? It's pretty obvious. It was gone 2 weeks. Nobody cared. They got their write up about it, all the memes that came out of it, that kind of thing. Radical Heights. Never heard of this. Not even a second. Didn't know that this was even a thing. I had never seen this character design even. This was never even brought in front of me. But apparently it came and went in 2018. So we have the day before. This made it a whole month, little over a month. And so it made it from December 7th to 2023 to January 22nd, 2024. And so again, this is another one. This is called The Day Before. Completely missed this one. It's an open world zombie game as it's listed here. I know nothing about it at all because I never saw anything about it. I don't remember any of this at all, and I wouldn't anyway. Look at it. It's generic as hell. That could be anything. That could be a screenshot from Among Us. Excuse me, not Among Us, sorry. The Last of Us. I got my us's mixed up. My apologies. It's The Last of Us. Could be a screenshot from The Last of Us 3. I don't know. That's the problem with a lot of these games, as you'll notice, but that's not the thing I want to attract your attention. So here's the Crucible. Wow, look at all those unique and strange characters and totally not Killer Croc there in the back. Yeah. And that's not Star Fox in the front. And that's not Robot Pikachu. How about that? So, yeah, Crucible here. It's just a shooter. I don't know about it, and it apparently didn't make it very long. It made it from May 21st, 2020 to November 9th, 2020. So apparently people weren't down for Robot Pikachu. Darn. We'll move on down here is Babylon's Fall, which certainly fell. Check it out. It made it from pretty much a whole year. Check it out. March 3rd, 2022 to February 27th of 2023. And this is, again, it's another one of those ones that you wouldn't be able to separate it from like an overcooked Legend of Zelda ripoff. You know, it's one of those things where you start running into derivative styles. And I don't mean to be like hypercritical about the visuals here, but if you're not aiming to like play up to that relationship, all you're doing is a disservice to your own creation by mimicking this kind of style. Even if it's unintentional, what you end up running into is I do this with my creations. I put them up against what inspired them, and I ask myself, does this look too close? Does this look derivative? Is the personality of what I've created too close to what the original inspiration was for that? Because it's important to in this day and age especially to create visual recognition. And that's what a lot of these games suffer from. That's what I wanted everybody to notice in this, okay? Is that all of these games suffer from visual recognition. I mean, again, I stress this about Concord. None of the characters are attractive. The only reason your brain holds on to them like mine does is because of the memes around them. That's it. Had this been a game that didn't get memed into oblivion and maybe lasted 6 months with 400 players, maybe lasted 6 months, you know, maybe it wouldn't have made memes and thus would have completely disappeared like Babylon's Fall, like what Infinity Climber, what was this? What was that one up here? It wasn't even Radical Heights. I don't even know what it names. Could have been Climbing Simon for all I know. I don't know. Could have been Climbing Simon. So you got Lawbreakers here, and I'd never heard of this one. This apparently made it over a year as well, from August 8th, 2017 to September 14th, 2018. But again, look at this. Does it look any different from an Overcooked Mass Effect kind of push? I don't know. On a quick glance, it looks like Mass Effect and um, My Hero Academia had a baby. Just a real quick glance, you know. Kind of, and then you got Titanfall mixed in this, so that's there, you know. It's one of those things where like when you go putting things together into a bucket, right, and you have the attempt of creating something unique out of it, the idea isn't to create something that makes people think of something else. And I'm not trying to be a smartass about this. I did study design for about 3 years when I was in high school. So it's been a while, but I do stay up to date on a lot of this stuff. And while you, even if you use the right color codes in order to get people's attention visually, you play up to that lizard brain, you know, that's used to looking at these different colors for different emotional reasons. Again, you have to make sure that you're not evoking the visuals and feeling of something else, and that's a very difficult thing to do, don't get me wrong, but you can look at these designs and you can tell you can ask yourself, like, at what point was the visual aesthetic of this game supposed to be present? Like with Overwatch, you can tell an Overwatch character from any other ripoff of it. You can tell a Marvel Rivals character from any other ripoff of it. You can tell a Pokemon character from every other character. It's a ripoff of it. It's just one of those things. It's not necessarily the art style that grants it that. You have to look at the design, the color scheme, what those colors are doing together, even. All right? It's crazy, I know, but it's one of those things that you didn't see it, but your brain did. And that's why a lot of these games ended up belly flopping. Like, what is Crossfire X? It's just Call of Duty, but like drawn down a little more. What were you hoping to accomplish with this, guys? Just having a different title? You can't go out there and create yet another military simulation, seek and destroy, defuse the bomb game. It's done to death, fellas. If you're gonna have any success in this market, you gotta animeify it to make it look different. You gotta have a gotcha Genshin Impact part of it there, where you end up having cute anime girls that are snipering each other from different sides of the map. It's one of those things where you're at that point now in order to be different. Now, even then, I don't know if it's that unique. I see a lot of those characters. I don't know. You might look like 100 other games then. This is the problem where a lot of like these online live service games are kind of finding themselves, is that to stay in the competitive zone where Fortnite, Call of Duty, Overwatch, Marvel Rivals currently hang out, in order to stay in that space, it is increasingly difficult to differentiate yourself from the people who are already there and well known. However, out in the co-op, right, the work together, collaborative games like I was talking about, Lethal Company, Among Us, content aware content. It's the one where they've all got cameras and they're going around pretending to be YouTubers and stuff. It's kind of low poly. It's cute. I don't know. And Minecraft, but that's less of a live service game and more if you have a server. But what I'm talking about more about that is that that's more wide open. If you want to go out into the world and like create a game that has similar functions to a previous game and then deliver something that will stay unique, it has to be the visuals now. Okay? And what Concord didn't realize is that going so far to the opposite end of appealing wasn't going to help anything. Making them the garbage pail kids of hero shooters was not going to solve the problem Concord was faced with. And that's where a lot of these devs find themselves right now. I forgive a lot of these guys for going out here and making a game and having it go sideways on them. You know, like Culling here, that made it 2 years, you know, and that was gone. They set out to make something unique, and something else showed up and stole the show on them because it had a stronger presentation. That's just what happens, unfortunately. And these guys set out to create something unique, and they got sent out, you know? And here we have Paragon. Paragon's another one, right? Another one that looks an awful lot like an Overwatch wannabe. You know, you feel a lot of Mortal Kombat kind of playing out here in some of the posing, a little bit of Raid Shadow Legends here, you know, and it's a MOBA, you know, mobile online battle arena MOBA. Anyway, I've gotten it wrong. I'm focused on Anthem now, so my brain's focused on Anthem. My apologies. But we all remember Anthem. Anthem was supposed to change the world. Anthem was going to save so many lives. Anthem was going to get us to Mars. It was going to cure all the diseases, guys. No. Uh, Anthem fell apart almost immediately, right out of the gate, because again, it didn't have its own personality. It was trying to compete with others in its genre. Right? Again, you got to set out with the intention of creating something that you're passionate about. And unfortunately, like I said, if you're passionate about creating a military simulator, you're in trouble. There's a lot of guys out there doing that. Call of Duty's kind of got that wrapped up. So over here, you've got Anthem, and Anthem tried to enter into that sort of crazy space, high intensity, crazy animation sort of stuff that was going on at the time, and it fell flat because it had no personality of its own. I remember distinctly watching the commercial and trailer, gameplay trailer for Anthem, and just like zoning out completely. It was just gone. I was gone. I just couldn't focus on it. The character went into that leaping thing with the big jetpacks, and all of them were going in, and it was crazy. And then my brain was just like, I wonder what butterflies do on the moon or something. I don't know. Just completely gone, off on another plane of existence. Knockout City, never heard of Knockout City. I've never seen art for this. I've never seen these character designs. Nothing. So it looks like some dodgeball kind of simulator. So you guys will have to let me know about that. It's got a high aesthetic. It looks like it would have worked. My best guess is that it just simply didn't survive because people didn't want to play a dodgeball game. That's another thing you can run into, is that the unique gimmick of your game could be just something that people don't find compelling. I mean, it sounds interesting, but I would think after like the fourth time playing it, it's kind of played out. Not that shooting some character across the map is any more unique, but you can at least do trick shots that way. There's only so many ways to throw a dodgeball, even ricocheting it around. But, that's another one that fell by the wayside. This one, I don't know about this one. This one went for quite a while. I like 3 years. I don't think you can, almost 3 years. I don't think you can define this as like a bad one, but I don't know. I think this is the one with Kamala Kahn being the main character of the campaign. So it was like a little strange sort of bit like DC Universe Online, where missions would come up and you would collaboratively take care of them. I think that's how that functioned. Could be wrong. I could be wrong. My bad. You collect teammates, I believe, is how you do this. But again, I could be wrong. I only remember the Oni Plays playthrough of this because they made fun of Kamala Khan relentlessly, and it was hilarious. Highly recommend it. Please go out and check that out. But I don't know if this qualifies. This kind of, I don't know how much longer these things are supposed to last. This is the big trouble about making games now, like I talked about at the top of the video. 10 years down the road, who's going to want to keep playing this? That has to be on people's minds. There are people that are still playing the original Legend of Zelda Gold cartridge game with its neat little battery in it. I have one somewhere around here, I think. I haven't seen it in years. But, it's one of those things where you have a timeless sort of experience with these very simplistic games. And these overbaked games, like you're looking at Marvel Avengers here, and then we're looking at Evolve. I don't remember this one at all. Anyway, then it went from 2015 to 2018. I don't remember Evolve at all. And this is another thing that ends up happening, is for whatever reason, it ends up monolithically trapped, You're the police going by here. They're on their way to arrest you for not hitting like yet. You made it this far in the video and you haven't hit like. So I don't know, man. Is it worth it? You might want to hit like right about now. They're almost there.